All right, so we're going to talk about thermal imagers here, all right? So first off, the Cincinnati Fire Department is buying new thermal imagers. They look just like this, all right? These are not the fire departments. These are loaners, so treat them as if they were not yours. They are loaners, all right? So first off, on these, you'll notice, and I cannot guarantee you that ours will be like this, but I'm like 99% sure. See these two white buttons here? The ones we getting will not do anything, all right? Those are for options, all right? We are not getting options on our cameras. We're pretty much a one-button fire department. We turn it on, we use it, we turn it off when we're done, all right? We don't need like zoom, so you can go like, look, there's a fire. Oh, there's a fire closer. We just go, there's a fire, and we put water on it, right? And there's all kinds. The problem with options is, so these are like $5,100, roughly, all right? $5,100. Every option you buy is about $800. So for every 5 or 6, whatever the math is, that we don't buy the options on, then that's another thermal imager we can buy. So they're just going to be on, which is this brand. The first ones we got, or well, the second ones we got, these were one button. Those are one button. Ours are all one button. We never buy the option. So we'll be getting, when we got these, the Rotary Club raised a bunch of money and they got 40 of them at one time. So that's not happening here. We're buying these. So they're going to buy 2 or 4 or 6 or 5 when they have the money, and then another 5, and then another 5, and then another 5. So there's not going to be magically every fire company is going to have one of these. They will kind of grow on us over time kind of thing. All right. So that's kind of what's coming down the road on the thermal imagers. We tested a lot of different thermal imagers, and in the end, we decided on the MSA brand for a multitude of reasons. Some we will hit on as we go through this little talk here. So we're going to talk about thermal imaging itself, right? So those are the brands we're getting. We're going to talk about thermal imaging and the use of a thermal imager, all right? So first off, this thing is not a camera. This is just a device that has a sensor that sees heat. Doesn't see smoke, doesn't see fire, it sees heat. Whatever that heat is, because right now I could look at the ground and see that that's, there. It's seeing the heat or lack, there is, even though it's 30 degrees or 20 degrees, it's still a form of heat, right? So it just sees heat, runs it into a computer in here, and puts a picture on a screen that it assigns a grayscale to. That's it. Sensor, computer, screen. That's all this thing does, all right? All the other processing that involves with this camera, this device, is my brain. I look at the screen and I make the decisions. Nowhere on here does it say, hey, there's a victim right here. Nowhere on here does it say the exit's behind you. All it knows is that I'm aiming it at a heat, to some sort of thing. It takes that information, turns it into a grayscale on a screen. All right, that's it. All right, so we have to process we are the ones who make the process to determine what this screen is telling me. Okay, it's all on you. All right, so we see a lot of people who do this. They pan around like this, like it's a video camera, right? Pan around, pan around, pan around, pan around, pan around. If you want to do that, put this away, get your iPhone out and turn it on video and video all you want. All right, so you go to your family reunion, you video, and you pan it around, that's awesome. You take it home, put it on your computer, watch it 1,000 times. You can nitpick it to death, put it on the World Wide Web, everybody on the planet can see that video. And they can freeze it and stop it and look at it and all that kind of stuff. The problem with doing this is we get one opportunity, one chance to look at that screen, process what's on the screen, and make a determination whether that is something we should go investigate or not investigate, right? We're in a fire, so not only is it on a little grayscale screen, it's got smoke between me and the screen and all that kind of stuff. So if we're doing this, we're missing a whole lot, right? We need to, well, we're really stressing. Aim, look, process in your brain what's on that screen, all right? This, you're gonna miss a lot. That video that you put on your computer, you can watch 1,000 times, freeze it, see Aunt Millie there in the background and go, oh my God, Aunt Millie, she passed away last year. She was unbelievable. We can't do that. It's there. Once we move, it's gone, right? It's all on us to make a determination of what's on this screen, whether we can use it, not use it, all that kind of stuff. All right? So the other problem with this is that every thermal imager has kind of 2 ranges. It has a high sensitivity, low sensitivity, and everybody's seen when you aim it at something hot, it freezes for a second or so, right? You know what I'm talking about? The picture freezes, and then it jumps to the high sensitivity range, or low, whichever, I can't remember which is which, but anyway, it jumps to the other range. And then I come over here, I'm looking at fire, and it does it. Freezes, then it jumps to the other range. Then I come over here on something cooler, and it freezes, it jumps back to the other range. So it's doing that constantly, all the time, all right? It's freezing, unfreezing, depending on what you're aiming at and all that kind of stuff. All right, so if I'm doing this, if I'm a video camera guy, right? And let's just say you're 1,000 degrees, all right? You're 1,000 degrees. And one of the issues we had we tested a bunch of cameras was that changeover, that switch from high to low gear, let's just call it, right? So that changeover in one of the cameras we tested was almost 3 seconds. All right, so that's a long time to sit there with it frozen going, 1001, 1002, 1003. Whew, oh, now it's live again, right? So that's a long time. So we ended up putting them all side by side, and we would aim at something hot, and we'd move them over here, and then this one would go like blink, blink, blink. So that's a long time, right? Doesn't see 3 seconds, then I say, oh, 3 seconds, what's that? Nothing. But in a fire, and you're waiting for that to change, and then I aim it at that thing hot, and there's 3 seconds to change gears, and then I aim it at you that's cooler, and there's 3 seconds to change back, and it just starts eating up time, and you're sitting there waiting, getting frustrated. So let's say you're 1,000 degrees. So I'm one of these guys who wants to pan around, right? So I come across here, when I get to you, it sees 1,000 degrees, and it changes gears. So I go like this, 1001, 1000. If it takes a second and a half for it to change gears, I'm all the way over here if I'm just panning around, right? In theory, he could be doing jumping jacks. I wouldn't see him because the screen is frozen. And you're in a dark, smoky environment and all that kind of stuff. If you don't notice that and you think, like, well, hell yeah, I searched this room, it's awesome. And really, there's the whole segment I never saw because it was changing gears, all right? So that's the one problem with just panning around. All right, so you're not sure, you don't notice that it's frozen because it's smoky and you're trying to look at that and you're just going like this. That picture on there is just flying by, right? So there's one problem with that. All right, so we're going to talk about some more things about thermal imagers. So it takes that information, that heat information, and it's only what it sees, all right? This assigns a color scale, gray scale, to whatever it sees. It doesn't know there's a blazing inferno behind me. If I'm aimed over here and that's 20 degrees to 30 degrees, it assigns a gray scale, 20 degrees to 30 degrees. Same, so I aimed at this thing and there'd be all shades of gray, from light to dark, right? Gray in there. I turn around and aim at a 1,000 degree thing, it's gonna be light to dark gray in there. That little slice of gray could be the same color slice of gray, whether it's whatever the range is. It just knows what it sees, right? That's all it knows in its field of vision. That's all it knows, all right? And it assigns a gray scale to that. All right, so now let's go way back to just basic colors. Basic thermal imaging. So if I aim this, the hottest thing in the screen is what color? White, right. And the darkest thing, or sorry, the coldest thing in the screen is? Black, right. And I know there's a million shades of gray in there, but we're just gonna go basic here and we'll work to that, all right? So I take you right here and I aim this thing at you in this scene, white or black? Is this about to be a black joke? No, I'm asking you what the thermal imager sees. Let's not make it there. You just took it there, I didn't. Right, what is he gonna be? He's going to be white, right? Because in this scene, 30 degree behind him, 30 degree over here, he's 98 degrees, he's going to be white. This thing's got a fire in it right now, so it's hot. I take this exact same person, no change, and I just turn him like this, put him in front of that background, white or black? Black, because that's 200 degrees or more, and he is still 98 degrees, and boom, he becomes black, because he's the coldest thing in the scene. That's all this knows, right? So what I'm trying to get at is that you can't say that people are always going to be this color, this is always going to be this color, because it's just whatever's in the scene that I shoot, right? So I can have him, he's white, and if I could take this wall here and make one side 30 degrees and one side 200, as you walked, you'd be like, well, if you came from the hot side, you'd be the darkest things, you'd be black, black, black. Step in front of the cold side, boom, you'd be the lightest thing, because it's just what it sees, it assigns those colors, all right? All right, so now, when we train with this thing, where do we go? Where do we train with this thing? I mean, when we train with it? In the firehouse, right. And other than aiming at the stove, what do we do with it? People, right. So you go, hey, go lay down in the bunk room. We're going to come find you, right? So you go in the bunk room. What color is he? Right, because we don't have any firehouse that's over 98 degrees, right? I can guarantee you that, right? So he's going to be the lightest thing because he's the hottest thing in that room. So he's a white blob. Go lay on the bay, white blob. Go lay in the kitchen, white blob. Go hide in the drug room, white blob, white blob, white blob, white blob. What do we just train ourselves to look for in this thermal imager screen when I'm looking for a victim? A white blob, right? We just train over and over and over. We train ourselves to look for the white blob because that's what you see. White blob, white blob, white blob. So now let's take that victim and throw them in a fire. What color do you think they're going to be? Dark blob. Dark blob, right. So if I'm doing this, my brain is looking for the white blob. Right? Because I've trained it to look for the white blob. So if there's a darker shade thing in there, that ain't the white blob. That ain't the victim, right? So we can't, first off, we never know what color that object's going to be assigned because it's relative to what this thing sees, right? And we're pretty sure a victim in a fire is not going to be the hottest thing in the room, right? Pretty sure. There may be a very ancillary room way far away from the fire that still hasn't heated up, then yeah, they might be. But most likely they're going to be the coldest thing, or yeah, they're gonna be the darkest thing in the room, right? So now, we did the white, black, because it's just easy. So now we're gonna go all those shades of gray in between, right? So nothing's gonna be white, really, and nothing's gonna be black. It's gonna be a huge gray scale here, right? So now, the victim's laying on the ground, and the fire's burning, and the fire's radiating the floor, right? Getting hot, and it's radiating the wall, and it's getting hot, and it's radiating the right, the victim. That's why they get burned, that's why they get blisters, all that. So it's radiating them. So really, they're gonna be the same color as everything else, pretty much, right? They're getting radiated the same as the wall is, and the same as this is, and the same as everything else. So instead of looking for the white blob or the black blob or whatever, I'm looking for the slightly weird shaped thing that's about the same gray color as everything else in the room, right? So I really gotta look at that. So that's what we're saying. Aim, look, process in your brain. So you're looking at that, right? Trying to figure out in that shades of gray. It'd be great if it was white and black, but it isn't. It's all these shades of gray. So in these shades of gray, I got to take my time to look at that screen because I'm making a determination whether I go investigate somebody, right? Something, some object that I go, that's weird. That doesn't look right. I think that might be, yeah. So I'm going to go check that out, right? So we're doing a primary search. Everybody knows that things get missed, right? People have crawled, not everybody, but a lot of people have crawled in, done something, and then later they go, hey, there was a victim right there. And you're like, oh man, I thought that was a bag of clothes. Shoot, you know, my bad. I missed it, right? We miss things. And that's why it's called a primary search, because we do the best we can, as quick as we can, so we can go to the next room. I could go into a room with my team, and we could search, and like search for 20 minutes and walk out and go, I guarantee you on my mother's grave that there is nobody in that room. I'm like, that's awesome, except you missed the 5 people in the next room because you were taking so much time in that room, right? So it's a primary search. It's a fast moving search. We hope to do the best we can, and then we move on to the next room. And then we call a secondary search is the one that you say, I guarantee there's nobody in here, right? So we're moving fast. So we're looking through this thermal imager, trying to determine what we're gonna try to investigate, right? So we look through here, things that, and this is kind of conceptual, things that man makes. What shapes are those? Inside buildings. Right, they're squares and rectangles. They have straight lines and hard corners, right? Straight lines, hard corners, most stuff we make. So if I'm looking through here and I see all these shades of gray and I see a straight line and a hard corner, I probably don't need to go investigate. That ain't a person, right? And I see another thing with a straight line, probably not a person. What shapes are people? Curvy, right, blobs, curvy, right? White blob on the floor, blobby, curvy. So if I'm trying to make this determination, you know, I don't have all day, so I'm trying to make this determination. I'm seeing that grayscale that there's like this curvy shape or blobby shape or whatever. That might be something that I go, oh, we absolutely got to check that out. Now it might be a blanket, but you know, people are in a blanket. It might be a bag of clothes, but that's kind of the shape people are in. Like I said, we've crawled over bags of people and thought they were bags of clothes, and the same thing. Oh, I got some. Oh, this is a pile of clothes, right? So those are the shapes that people are. Once we get to them, we're like, oh shit, oh no, that's just a pile of clothes, right? So we're looking for the weird shaped blobs, not straight lines, not angular corners. Now I look over and see straight lines and I go, that's a bed. Then I want to look on the bed, right? That kind of stuff. But in general, people are weird blobby shapes, right? So when I'm making these determinations, let's see if I'm doing like a leapfrog search where I'm looking at the thermal imager and I got my partner searching the room and I'm directing him and I'm looking and I'm like, oh, go to your right, go to your right. Oh, right there. There's something right there that seems weird. Oh, that's a bag of clothes. All right, keep going. You know, you're aiming, looking, processing. Aiming, looking, processing, right? And so we're trying to get away from this because you miss a lot when you do this because you're not going to see those fine, minute shades of gray, all right? So now when we say that person's getting radiated and they're all going to be, you know, the same in there kind of thing, in that gray scale, that's the same thing with firemen. So if a fireman goes down, same thing. He's getting radiated, his gear gets hot. The one thing we bring to the table that civilians don't is we have an SCBA on. All right, so on our back is this big bottle of air. And as you breathe that air, when you take a compressed air out of a cylinder, it cools the cylinder. Maybe slightly, but it cools the cylinder. So in general, and again, if you get it radiated enough, it'll heat up. But in general, that bottle is gonna be the coolest thing in the room. And it's a weird shape, it's an oval shape. So when we go in here, we're gonna have a fireman laying down in here, look at his bottle, and you'll see it's an oval shape and it's very dark. It's not black, but it's darker than everything else in the room because it's getting cooled and it's a weird shape. So, you know, it's like, again, not a square. It's like, that's a weird, looks like a pill on their back, right? So if you're looking for a fireman, kind of in your brain, look for that oval shape. Maybe the way he's laying, you can't see it, but maybe you can. And you go, ooh, that shape, that's absolutely our guy, right? So it's just something to think about, just a tip to think about. All right, so as we use these things, we see people doing this a lot. right? They're using this, staring as they go in, staring, watching the thermal imager, but then what happens when this thing that's a tool with a battery dies? Boom, when it dies, how do they get out, right? They did not build that tactile memory of our standard right-hand search or left-hand search that we do, right? So we don't want to do that. We live off of screens now. We have our iPhones or our Android phones. We have our iPads. We have all these screens and we go screen. We don't want to hang on this screen, right? Because it can suck you in. Next thing you know, you're way in deeper and you really don't know how you got there, right? If this thing were to die, you're kind of in trouble. So we're kind of saying the same thing. You go in the front door, whatever, you look, right? Aim, look, process the room. And you go, oh, there's a couch on the right side, and then an overstuffed chair, and then I see an end table and a coffee table. All right. And now I'm going to move forward with my hand out, right? Touching the couch. So I'm building that tactile feel that I remember, oh, the couch is right there. And I know you can't see in a fire, but your flashlight's on, you may go, oh, that's actually a blue couch, right? I'm on the floor, I'm kneeling, I see it's blue. And then I go along and I go, oh, there's that overstuffed chair, there's that end table. All right, now I'm gonna start looking again. Okay, I'm gonna go forward, and then I'm gonna go along a wall, and there'll be a door on the right, and so and I go forward again. So if things go bad and I gotta leave, I can turn and I got that, oh, there's that end table, there's that overstuffed chair, there's that blue couch, and I know the door's right there. So if things go bad, I can get out. The other thing is, if I get way in there, right, and even if this is working, and let's say down that hallway, the fire's down that hallway, and it flashes over, I'm not in the flashover, I'm not gonna die, but a big ball of heat's gonna roll out and I may want out of the building ASAP. Well, you think I'm gonna turn around when I really, really want out and go? No, I'm gonna get down low and I'm gonna unask myself, right? So it's real nice if I can just reach out and go, oh, there's that overstuffed chair. Here's the couch. I know the door's at the end of the thing. Come on, let's get out of here, right? So this is great. Just don't get sucked in that it's the end all be all. All right? So same kind of thing. So we know that at a fire, everybody knows about the flow path now, right? So we open up the front door, the hot gases are being pushed out of the building because they expand in the fire room, they get hot and expand, so there's pressure there, they get pushed out of the building, out the front door they go. And then below that is cold air getting sucked in, right? So let's say the thermal layer is right about there, all right? So if I walk and stand in that front door, I'm inside that thermal layer, this really isn't gonna see it because it's the ambient temperature, everything it sees is that one temperature, right? So it's not gonna see the minute changes. It potentially will, but it's going to be hard to see. But if I do this, so I'm below the thermal layer now, right? I'm looking up at it. If I look at that, as that smoke's chugging out of the building, I can most likely see the heat waves moving that way, right? So if I go, okay, all right, I see them. Then I go over here and I go, all right, I see them. They're going this way now. And I see them over here. Yeah, look, there's a wall there. And around that corner, I can see the heat rolling out from around that corner. Where's the fire? Around the corner, right? So I didn't see the fire. I'm probably nowhere near the fire, but potentially just by looking and processing in my brain, trying to see those little waves, taking a moment to look, I can go, hey fellas, we're gonna go straight, about 10, 15 feet, there's a hallway to the left, it's down there. I don't know how far down there, but I know it's down there, right? And we'll figure that out when we get around that corner, right? So we can take a few, now, I say that, and with these 15-year-old cameras, that's not gonna be as evident as this, not even Persis chest camera, right? Like super fancy, just like, nobody here, well, I can't guarantee you, has a 15-year-old phone in their pocket, right? Everybody's got they're planning to get a new phone every 2 years. Well, we can't. So these are 15 years old. The yellow ones that we have are like 7 years old, and then we're moving on to this generation. So, we do the best we can, but we're still gonna be out there with old thermal imagers. That will see this, but it's gonna be, it's just like anything else. That's a lot better than this, but it's 15 years newer technology, right? Just like we know that when we buy those, next week they'll come out with the next newest, fanciest model. The new iPhone 10, the thermal imager 10 will be out. X, not 10, it's X. All right, so last thing, again, don't get sucked in. This only knows what it's seen, right? So FEMA did, our NIST and UL did a study where they were testing engineered wood structures, the boards, like instead of 2x12s, the engineered joists. And so they built a floor out of it and they put a subfloor on and they put padding down, they put carpet on it, and they built a big fire underneath it to see how long it'd be till it collapsed. Well, one of the things that came out of this, they looked at that floor with a thermal imager, and when you looked at that floor, raging fire underneath, it's about to collapse, and they look at it with a thermal imager, and it's just gray, because everything on that floor was the same temperature. So this looked at it, Now, if you looked on the side, maybe you could have seen that it might have been a really hot temperature, but who really looks in the smoke and all that little thing on the side to try to see what temperature it is, right? You look at it, you go, oh, it looks good. It's all gray, it doesn't look like a big red spot in it anywhere. And then you go out on it and it collapses on you. So don't get sucked in that this is the end all be all. You still got to use your brain. You got to go, hey, this is really hot. This doesn't seem right. We got a fire underneath there. Maybe we don't go out on that, right? Just don't let this tool, which is what it is, get you sucked in. All right?